Tropical Depression 18 is continuing to develop in the eastern Atlantic Ocean. We have the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center as of 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. There's no change. There's not much change to it except for its location. 10.2 north, longitude 35 west, moving west near 15 miles per hour. Still a 35 mile per hour tropical depression. Strengthening is still forecast. It could become a tropical storm by tomorrow morning or sometime on Thursday. Most likely chances tomorrow morning if it gets its act together. If we look on satellite, it looks like the western side of it looks pretty deformed, but the eastern side of it needs to develop a little more. So when it starts getting its act together, that's when it's going to start strengthening. So that's all. That's it right there. Pressure still 1,008 millibars. It is forecast to become a hurricane over the weekend. This is the newest 5-day cone, and I'm starting to notice. Oh, I'm starting to notice something with this cone and a little bit of the models. A few of the models. This cone, that if it continues at this path, if it continues at this path, if I could draw a straight line, it'll just barely miss the northern Leeward Islands, essentially. It's still a tropical depression, expected to strengthen to a tropical storm in the next 24 hours, probably even sooner than that, although it has it as a depression at 8 a.m. Tomorrow. So has it becoming a hurricane by 8 a.m. Saturday, has it becoming a major hurricane by 8 p.m. on Monday. So you guys got to watch out for that if you're in the Leeward Islands and the models all of a sudden start shifting towards there. And I'm looking at the models, and it appears that some of them are starting to make a slight shift towards the Leeward Islands. However, it could be a fact that this is just deviating a little bit more to the west, but I'll be keeping a close eye on it. Models 72 hours out agree of more of a westward motion and then starting its slow turn towards the west-northwest, and then the models start to split with some having it going more towards the west-northwest all the way over here. But a few of the models have actually started to turn a little bit more towards the Leeward Islands here. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on these models. It's still early, but I'm going to be keeping a close eye on it. Now we're going to go to the intensity models. A lot of these models, surprisingly, quite a lot of them have it as a tropical storm in the next 12 hours, which I wouldn't be surprised if it became a tropical storm in the next 12 hours, genuinely because of how quickly this organized into a depression. So that's all I'm going to really say about that. So yeah, 24 hours, almost every model agrees that's going to be a tropical storm. So by 11 p.m. tomorrow, this thing's likely going to be a tropical storm. Pretty much almost certainly going to be a tropical storm. And then the majority of the models have it going up to hurricane strength. A lot of them have it going up to at least Category 1 hurricane. Quite a lot of them have it going up to Category 2 hurricane strength. And now more models are going up to Cat 3 strength at this time. We have the CTCI having strengthening up to a bit strong Cat 3, the OFCI, the HWF2, the OPCI, and several other models have it going up to Cat 3. The HMNI, though, has it after 108 hours just rapidly intensifying to a Cat 4 hurricane. So, according to these models, nothing is off the table. It could be a major hurricane. It could just be a tropical storm. But I can say that it's at least going to be a strong tropical storm at this point. That's my opinion at this point. It's going to be at least a strong tropical storm. The NHC has this going up all the way to hurricane strength. I genuinely believe it's going to get up to hurricane strength, but at this point, I could see this being. It could nothing's off the table at this point. It's over warm waters. There's very little wind shear at this time. All it needs to do is keep doing what it's been doing, develop more of that eastern side right here, and to become a tropical storm. I mean, it can become a tropical storm without without starting its forming in the east. But in order for it to get really organized and start strengthening pretty quickly, it would have to start it's ramping up more on the eastern side of it. So I'll be keeping a close eye on that. But yeah, these models show nothing is off the table. At this point, nothing's off the table. That's pretty much the wrap up when it comes to those models. Now let's talk about the few key takeaways I want to talk to you about. Number one, even though it's still a tropical depression right now, it is going to start strengthening if it hasn't already. It's going to start strengthening up to a tropical storm. About half the models have it going up to a tropical storm 12 hours out. The rest of them have it going up 24 hours out. So that's something you guys need to keep in mind. It's a tropical depression now, but it's not going to be a tropical depression for long. That's the first key takeaway. Second key takeaway: the cone has it up to major hurricane strength at this time. It has it strengthening to a tropical storm in the next 24 hours. I think it. I think genuinely what happens between the next basically 12 to 18 hours is going to depend a lot on how quickly the storm organizes and how quickly the storm strengthens. NHC has this as a hurricane by the weekend. It could be sooner than that. It could be a little longer than that. Then a major hurricane by Monday. So that's something to be a little bit concerned about, especially considering that if it gets large enough, it could start affecting the swells. It could start generating rip currents and start generating hundreds of miles away from the center of the storm. So that's something you got to keep a close eye on. Next key thing we need to talk about is just some of the models are starting to shift a little bit. It may just be a little deviation to the west, but quite a few of them are shifting a little bit more to the west. Like some of these are coming down, like the UKX2 has it shifting more towards if it continues to that path towards the Leeward Islands, but majority of them are kind of in the same place, although we are starting to see a little bit more of a shift towards the Leeward Islands. At this point, it's still too early to say what's going on. This is a week out. Anything can happen at this point. I just want to put that out there. So at this point, this is what it looks like with the models. Next key takeaway: nothing is off the table when it comes to intensity. Like the NHC has this going up to major hurricane strength by Monday. All these models, the majority of them agree it's going to be a hurricane, at least a Category 1 hurricane. Quite a lot of them have it going up to Cat 2. Quite a few of them have it going up to major hurricane status. This really shows you nothing is off the table. Not tropical storm force, not Category 4 strength is. So once again, it looks like the models are in a bit of an agreement for at least a Category 1 hurricane. Final key takeaway: it looks if that system starts developing more of its core to the east, then it could definitely start strengthening more robustly than it kind of has over the last couple of days. Like 24 hours ago, this thing had an 80% chance of development, a 60% chance of development in 48 hours. Then the chances started jumping up as its organization just kicked in, and now I'm not saying this is regressing at all, but in order for it to fully start ramping up its intensity, it needs to start developing more of its core to the east, because center of circulation is about right. It's about right here. So at this point, if it does that, then it can start at least robustly strengthening. I can see a couple of thunderstorm blow-ups going on right about here. So I've been keeping a close eye on that. I will continue to keep a close eye on that. So be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications for more updates.